Hello, Walking the Ropes fans. I am Blake, and welcome to the next episode of Walking the Ropes Wrestling Review for AEW Dynamite, July 8th, 2021, from Miami, Florida. In today's show, we have a brutal strap match, a world title stare down, a trios grudge match, a contract is signed, a mysterious debut, and a street fight goes all out. Before that, make sure to check out the Walking the Ropes link tree for all things Walking the Ropes. Opening the show, we have a South Beach strap match, Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall. The only rules for this match are you must hit all four top turnbuckles in a row to win. This match was an absolute war from the get-go, even before the match technically even started. Cody hits a dive, and then once we actually do get going, so that was the dive happened before the match even started, and then once the match actually starts going, it's just back and forth with both men just slamming, whipping each other, doing whatever they can to take each other out. At one point, QT goes for a moonsault, and Cody whips him in midair, catching him right in the stomach. It looked really, really solid. There was also some interference from the factory outside. Just because they were there, you pretty much could tell they were going to get involved. And Aaron Solo stops Cody from slapping all the turnbuckles. He had actually gotten to the third at this point. But then is handled by Dustin Rhodes, and they brawl into the audience and are followed by Nick Camarado. While QT and Cody brawl in the ring during that happening, the lights start to flicker. It was kind of weird. Nothing really happened further than that. The lights flickered right then. Cody then shows his experience in strap matches, or being told from people who have been in strap matches that, you don't have to do all the work, basically, because QT's dragging Cody around at this point and hitting the turnbuckles, and so Cody will pop up and hit the turnbuckle behind him, and then he would just try to jump over him on the last one, and just didn't quite work out, and they just kind of continue to brawl there. Cody goes for a Hurricanrana, but it's reversed by QT, and he hits a powerbomb from the top rope. And then QT ties up Cody and hits the diamond cutter from the top rope, and goes around the ring to the turnbuckles. And after a bit of back and forth action, Cody hits a low blow on QT, and then hits 3 crossroads, and then goes and hits all the turnbuckles for the win. This was a really solid match, and I don't think this is going to be the end still, even though we had Cody win pretty well every match. I think there's going to be more to this. For my Malteser scale, I gave this a 4 out of 5. It was really solid. A great way to open the match, especially back in the first crowd that's traveling around again. After the match, we get Sean Spears talking about why he did what he did. But before he really can, Sammy tosses a chair at him and then sits down and says that this isn't over. This looks like it's going to be heading into a big blow-off match, and I'm really excited to see what these two will be able to do in whatever kind of match they're in. We then get Tony Schiavone talking with Kenny Omega and Don Callis in the ring. Don runs down how Kenny's beaten everyone in AEW, and then the Dark Order comes out, and Uno's asking Kenny why he's ignoring everyone in the arena and why he's ignoring the number 1 ranked wrestler in AEW. And Kenny turns around and asks if Uno knows what the capital of Thailand is, and then he just low blows Uno. And the Dark Order then is jumped by the Good Brothers, as well as Kenny helps out with the beatdown on that. We get Hangman making his way out to the ring, and he clears house of everyone. And then he sets up for the buckshot on Kenny, but instead he gets in the ring and stares down with Kenny, and Carl gets up on the apron there to distract him, but Hangman's kind of expecting it. He turns around too quickly, and Kenny just decides to leave. This is definitely going to be a great feud, no doubt about it. I'm looking forward to where this is going. I don't think this is going to be a one-match feud. I think Kenny will get the first one, and then we'll have a secondary match sort of thing. Maybe even a third match like, so maybe the second match won't be for the title, and then the third match will be. But we'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to this. Following that, we have JR talking with Darby Allin and Ethan Page about their coffin match next week and why they basically want to end each other's careers. And Darby says it's because Page is mad that he got to AEW first. And Page says, yeah, that's true. And Darby jumped the line and that he would be nothing without Page. And yeah, I look forward to the match next week 100%. Up next, we have a trios tag team match. The Pinnacle, FTR and Wardlow, versus the Inner Circle, Santana and Ortiz and Jake Hager. Again, this is a great match by both teams. Great back and forth action, displaying honestly every single wrestler the way they should be, showing everybody's strength and not making anybody look weak by the end of this at all. We start out with Dax and Santana brawling in the ring, and it's back and forth from there. After each team has made some of their tags to their normal tag team partners, because we've had Dax and Santana tagging in and out with Ortiz and Cash, we eventually get Wardlow, and he looks like he's going to take control, and he does for a bit, but he does tag out, and that's when Ortiz is able to fight back and make the tag out to Hager, who clears house and stands alone in the ring. There's more back and forth action, but no team is really taking control at all. We get both teams double teaming, back and forth, triple teaming, everybody's getting involved. And finally, the legal men become Hager and Wardlow, and they brawl in the ring. And until FTR and Tully Blanchard distract the referee, and FTR hits the big rig on Hager, and Wardlow pins him, cleans up the win, and the Pinnacle defeats the Inner Circle. Again, this is a fantastic match. It's obviously a jumping off point match because we're going to get more of this. So my Malteser scale, again, it was an amazing match. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Just a fantastic showing from both teams. Following that match, we get Conan trying to jump the Pinnacle, but he's quickly beaten down and the Pinnacle leaves. Up next, we get the contract signing of MJF and Chris Jericho. And as Chris Jericho is getting in the ring, a referee jumps the rail and gets involved, and it seems like Jericho stops him, and they pull him off with the security there. We get MJF going on about how he doesn't need to do this for Jericho. Jericho says he will sign whatever MJF has planned, even if it's having sex with MJF's mother. Again, MJF didn't like that, and he says he's going to do what Jericho did to Moxley as a template, but he's going to make it better. MJF says Jericho will have to beat 4 opponents of MJF's choosing, back-to-back, with different stipulations in each match, and then he would get MJF. Jericho accepts because he's the god of AEW. Jericho signs and goes to leave, but MJF says where he's from, a deal is never done until a handshake. So they shake hands, and Jericho, being the veteran he is, he then hits the Judas effect and leaves. We then get Britt Baker talking about her match last week and her upcoming match with Nyla. She said she's going to beat her again, basically. The next match, we get a singles contest between Matt Sydal and Andrade El Idolo. This match starts out looking like a great back and forth match, but it does quickly take a turn and Andrade takes control. He goes to the top rope to hit a moonsault, but Sydal does roll out of the way, so Andrade lands on his feet, does a standing moonsault. Literally as he lands, he just hits the next moonsault. And then they go outside the ring. Andrade sets Sydal up onto the apron, and he hits a drop kick through the ropes, sending Sydal crashing to the floor. It looked really, really brutal. We get Andrade going up to the top rope, and Sydal reverses him, and Andrade then goes to stomp on Sydal, who's kind of like hanging off the ropes there, but he moves and he's able to hit a Meteora for a near fall, but Andrade does fight back and he hits what he calls El Idolo for the win. Andrade El Idolo defeats Matt Sydal. Again, for this match, it's a fantastic match, but we are going to see much, much more from Andrade. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. In no way was this a bad match. It's just we have yet to even scratch the surface of Andrade. After the match, Andrade ties up Matt's arm and he locks in an arm bar. And then he gets basically cleared out of the ring by the refs. After the ring is cleared, Tony Schiavone is talking with Arn Anderson, and Arn says it's great to be in Miami, and then he goes to answer Tony's question, but before he can, the lights go out, and Malachi Black appears out, and he takes out Cody, or sorry, not Cody, Arn, and Cody comes in and makes the save, but Malachi then takes out Cody as well, and then he leaves. For those who don't know, Malachi Black is formerly Tommy End, formerly Aleister Black. Wow, his name lost me for a second there. Formerly Aleister Black in WWE. He seems to be going by Malachi Black here. I'm looking forward to it. He seems to have that same gimmick that he had just as he was leaving WWE. Obviously, it's going to be probably a little bit different here and there, but it looks very exciting for sure. Following this, there was a quick recap of Ricky cutting a promo on Brian Cage before the actual show started, and he said he's going to beat Cage for the FTW Championship. Yeah, basically just setting up for their title match there. The next match, we get a tag team bout. The Blade and the Bunny versus Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander. Right away, Aubrey finds Brass Knuckles in Blade's gear and gets rid of that quickly. The match starts and Blade hits a power slam on Cassidy, and Cassidy immediately responds with the Stun Dog Millionaire, and then we get Statlander and the Bunny coming in, and they brawl, with Blade then distracting Statlander, and Bunny takes advantage. After a short while, Statlander starts to come back as they're exchanging blows, and she hits a really big slam for a near fall. Blade is eventually tagged in, and he is hit with a DDT by Orange Cassidy. Orange then goes up to the top rope and is pushed off by Bunny, who is then also pushed off herself by Chris Statlander, and she hits the 451 splash for a near fall by Cassidy, because obviously Chris Statlander's not the legal member. We then get Blade being given Brass Knuckles from the Bunny, and he immediately lays out Cassidy, but at some point there, Statlander had made the tag to Cassidy, and before the pin, and Statlander then starts brawling with the Bunny, and Statlander hits the Big Bang Theory for the win. We get Chris Statlander and Orange Cassidy defeating the Bunny and the Blade. For my Malteser scale, I gave it a 3 out of 5. In no way was this a bad match, just comparative to the other matches. It just didn't quite add up there. It was still a fantastic match, absolutely, in every single way. After this, we see American Top Team, which is a MMA training team with Jorge Masvidal and Amanda Nunes and the founder, Dan Lambert. And before he can be asked any questions by Tony Schiavone, he grabs the mic and he starts to go off on AEW, saying he was a bit skeptical coming into the show, not because he was busy or had better things to do, but because AEW sucks, and says if he wanted to go watch good wrestling, he would go grab some old VHSs, and he continues by listing off some legends, and says wrestling fell off in the 90s. He talks about how Tony Khan sold him on the show, saying it's got all kinds of styles of wrestling and the fans are electric, but he should have followed his instincts. He should have used them quickly, he says he should have followed his instincts here, and he should have used them pretty quickly, because Lance Archer makes his way to the ring here, and he hits a huge forearm, sending Lambert to the corner, and then he picks Lambert up, hits Blackout, and leaves. I think that'll learn you from at least opening your mouth if you're going to talk about wrestling like that. Finally, we move on to the main event. We get the AEW Tag Team Championship Street Fight. The Young Bucks versus Eddie Kingston and Penta El Zero Miedo. Eddie Kingston and Penta start out by jumping the Bucks before they can finish their entrance, and quickly the Bucks do take control, but they have help from Nakazawa, but they do inadvertently super kick him, and Eddie and Penta take control from there, and they target Brandon Cutler. But just before they can take out Cutler, the Bucks come back in and they beat him with the beat on Eddie and Penta with the chair. Eddie and Penta, they do start their comeback here. They go out, they grab tables. Eddie dismantles his in the ring, while Penta sets his up outside the ring. Eddie goes to then slam Nick into the bent legs, but of the table, but Matt stops him and helps Nick out. Nick then power slams Eddie, or power bombs him, sorry, into the table legs, while Penta hits a Canadian Destroyer into the table on Matt from the apron there. It was a brutal move. After a bit of brawling, Cutler and Nick set up a table, and after a bit more back and forth shots from Nick and Eddie, Eddie hits an exploder and goes to run at Nick, but he moves, sending Eddie into the table in the corner. Penta then comes in and hits sling blades on every person in sight. The Bucks do eventually get him dealt with, and they continue to work on Eddie. And again, Penta and Eddie, they come back. They focus their attention on Matt, with Eddie locking in a rear naked choke. And Nick has to make the save here. But instead of hitting like a 450 or just breaking up the lock, he hits a 450 on Rick Knox right as Matt's tapping, and that saves the match there. We get the Good Brothers coming out, and they are eventually taken out momentarily, I'll admit, by Penta and Eddie. And Matt does fight back and tries to get help from Brandon, but Kazarian comes in and powerbombs him through one of the many tables that was set up outside. Eddie and Penta hit the Fear Factor, followed by a Hurricane, and get the pin, but there is no ref. The ref had been knocked out, obviously, by the 450. We then get a ref coming in, but as he's about to count the 3, he's pulled out of the ring at the last second. And just after that, we get the Good Brothers taking out Kazarian. We get Eddie laying out some tacks on the ring there, and Matt immediately picks him up and throws him into his eyes, causing him to be unable to see. Penta and Nick fight along the ropes, and they go up to the top rope where Nick hits a Hurricane Rana into the tacks for a pin, but Eddie breaks the fall, so the Bucks super kick Eddie, throw tacks at Penta, sending Penta outside, and then they put some tacks in Eddie's mouth and super kick him for the win. The Young Bucks defeat Eddie Kingston and Penta El Zero Miedo to retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships. For this match, for my Malteser scale, I gave it a 4.75 out of 5. It's a fantastic match. Proves how important these titles are to these men. And I can't wait to see who the next challenger for the Young Bucks is going to be. My overall for AEW last night, I gave a 4.5 out of 5. And my match of the night was definitely the main event, although I'm not going to take anything away from the strap match. The main event just had so much more in it. The segment of the night, I gave to Malachi Black making his debut. He shocked me absolutely. I had no idea that was going to happen. And then for my performer of the night, I gave it to Eddie Kingston. He had an absolute amazing showing in the main event last night. He took a great beating, and I look forward to continuing watching Eddie in the ring. I had no idea who he was before he came to AEW, but he's been amazing since he's been here, and I look forward to continuing watching Eddie, absolutely. But that is all for this show tonight or today. Thank you all for dropping into this episode of Walking the Ropes Wrestling Review. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications whenever we upload a video. I'll see you in the next one.